The cadets stand in formation as the instructor congratulates them on passing the first test. Each cadet is granted a copper medal, the mark of a lower warrior official students for the next 4 years. From now on, no cadet may answer the staff with a simple yes or no. The only acceptable reply is for the demonic way. In the infirmary, the physician sets out his tools and asks if Yeo-Woon is ready to begin. Yeo-Woon, still bandaged, addresses him as Mr. Physician. The man introduces himself. His name is Baek Jong-myung. He grins and tells Yeo-Woon to drop the formality and use his name. Yeo-Woon asks if his condition is serious. Baek admits the recovery will take at least 2 weeks before training can begin. Yeo-Woon weighs his options. Nano can heal him quickly. But recovering too fast would raise suspicions. And lying here means falling behind. He doesn't even know what happened after the exam. Baek tries to lift his spirits. Any other physician would have needed a full month. He boasts that his speed comes from studying under physician Jong-woo Baek. Yeo-Woon still frowns. What about falling behind in training? Baek leans in with a quiet offer. He'll turn a blind eye if Yeo-Woon trains with Sir Seopmang here. Without warning, Baek yanks Yeo-Woon's robe open to begin the acupuncture. Baek freezes mid-motion, eyes blown wide at what he sees. The boy has never trained in martial arts, yet his body is far more sculpted than expected. The cadets whisper word as the boy has no internal powers. Maybe he's trained his external powers instead. Baek announces the first acupoint, the middle epigastrium. Inside, Nano detects the needle and initiates emergency defense mode. Yeo-Woon orders Nano to stop it, can't tell the difference between a threat and medical care. Nano halts the defense protocol at the user's request, and Yeo-Woon exhales. Nano demands advance notice for any future treatment. Yeo-Woon, now called Master, agrees. Baek shrugs off the strange pause and resumes the procedure. Yeo-Woon feels his stomach ease, and Nano begins searching for data on the 14 meridians. A glowing diagram overlays Baek's work. Nano names every acupoint and shows which 6 meridians speed the recovery. Baek catches Yeo-Woon staring and grins awkwardly. The staring is making him nervous, so he switches to needles and mugwort. Yeo-Woon can't sleep. Nano keeps relaying acupoint names into his head. Then it clicks, an idea hits him. He tells Nano he knows it could heal him instantly, but recovering too fast would draw suspicion. So he asks, can Nano disguise his pulse to seem wounded whenever Baek checks? Nano confirms it can alter his pulse to mimic injury even after the real wounds are healed. Yeo-Woon smirks. 14 days is plenty of time to learn internal arts from Sir Seopmang in secret. He orders Nano to keep faking the pulse, and Nano confirms, yes, master. The sun rises over the misty peaks of the 10,000 mountains. The red-haired instructor bellows at the cadets to line up into groups. They roar back in unison for the demonic way, and he begins explaining the rules of the next examination. The instructor announces all students will take their exams together until the third one. To pass the second and become a middle warrior, they must study strategy and tactics. He grins down at them. They'll have only 3 weeks to prepare. The cadets panic. 3 weeks is nowhere near enough to learn the foundations. The instructor explains after 3 weeks the groups will compete and only 10 will move on. The cadets realize half of them will fail, and their group has few students from the higher sects. The groups with heirs from the 6 sects hold a massive advantage over everyone else. The instructor laughs. This is the first and last time cooperation is allowed, so they'd better work together or they'll all be thrown out. He calls the meeting over and orders them back to their group dorms to rest. He warns them starting tomorrow the so-called kind martial arts professors will teach them strategy and tactics. Kind. The cadets shiver. These are the same men who beat down students refusing to leave. The instructor bellows the final dismissal across the courtyard. The cadets disperse toward their dorms in long, winding lines. This is Impyong, the martial arts professor assigned to Group 8. Impyong calls out student 3 has lingered behind. The student introduces himself, Cheon Yeo-Woon, young master of the stealth sect, with a question for the professor. Impyong reminds him only training-related questions are allowed. Muyin agrees, and Impyong tells him to go ahead. He predicts he'll be chosen as leader of Group 8. Impyong is irritated. Group leaders are supposed to be picked tomorrow, and the heirs from the 6 sects clearly have no regard for the rules. Muyin explains one of their members, Student 7, has been taken to the infirmary. Without him, the group is 1 member short, and Muyin would hate for the whole group to fail because of that. Muyin explains his plan. Since Student 7 missed today's assembly, he'd like to relay the instructions personally. Impyong studies him in silence, weighing the request. Inside, Muyin sneers the little vermin is in his group, but that's where the luck ends. He plans to head to the infirmary and tear him apart. Impyung grabs his collar with a grin. That's the right attitude, exactly what this exam demands. He praises Muyon's initiative and offers to deliver the message to Student 7 himself. Muyon panics and stammers. There's no need, he can go himself. Then it hits him, students aren't allowed in the main hall except under extenuating circumstances. Muyon curses inwardly. He didn't know the rule, and this academy is full of ridiculous ones. He realizes pulling rank as the stealth sect heir won't work here. He has no choice but to comply. Muyon bows and thanks the professor, who tells him to get to his dorm. Then Muyon stops him. He has one more question. He asks when Student 7 will be cleared to join their training. Impyung shrugs. It's late, so he'll find out tomorrow. Muyon decides he'll have to strike when the boy returns to the dorms instead. He smirks in the wind. Get treated and hurry back, little vermin. He'll inflict pain so gruesome the boy will wish he were dead. The main hall of the academy stands silent under the moon. Baki stares in disbelief. 2 whole weeks. Physician Bake confirms that Yeo-Woon's internal injuries demand at least that long. Baki pleads, stuck this long, the young master will miss the next rank. The physician muses, with internal energy recovery could be hastened. But Student 7 has none, and the second exam falls in 3 weeks. Baki grits his teeth. His group cannot fail because of one boy. He asks to speak with Student 7, important news to relay. The physician declines. The young master sleeps best, return tomorrow. Baki shoots one last glance toward the bed. He shakes his head with a quiet click of the tongue. He somehow cleared the first exam, but his luck seems spent. Yeo-Woon lies still until the door creaks open. Outside, the moon hangs cold above the trees. A figure tears across rooftops at impossible speed. The shadow lands soundlessly inside the infirmary. Yeo-Woon's eyes flicker open at the sound. A crash shakes the room and Yeo-Woon jolts upright in bed. A stranger stands grinning down at him. His teacher has arrived. Yeo-Woon stares dumbfounded. Teacher. The stranger belches. Yeo-Woon recoils at the stench of liquor. The man grins, gourd still at his lips, mocking the lack of greeting. Yeo-Woon scrambles to bow, stammering a proper good morning. The teacher wipes his mouth and asks whether yesterday's assignment is done. Yeo-Woon blinks. What assignment? The teacher means the internal breathing techniques he handed down before. Yeo-Woon was only brought here yesterday. Sir Seopmeng must be impatient indeed. Yet thanks to Nano transferring the techniques into his brain, he can answer with confidence. Seopmeng's eyes widen. The boy memorized everything from a sickbed. He recovers his swagger. Of course, he was only testing the kid. Yeo-Woon asks if it's risky for the teacher to visit this early. Seopmeng pats his shoulder. He has something important to share. He has only 2 weeks to teach Yeo-Woon everything. Once Yeo-Woon leaves for the dorms, contact will be nearly impossible. He admits he didn't realize the boy was bedridden from the moment he arrived. Daytime he must report to the patriarch. Only now is the watch thin. Worse academy rules forbid students from being taught by outsiders. Yeo-Woon realizes the reckless drunk has actually planned this carefully. He bows in thanks. Seopmeng waves it off. Time is short. The lesson begins now. He flicks Yeo-Woon's forehead, snapping at him to focus. Seopmeng orders him to turn around and sit on the floor. He barks again and Yeo-Woon drops at once with a thud. The boy wonders silently. An explanation would be nice. Seopmeng settles behind him. Luckily, he memorized the dancing springs technique. 2 palms press flat against Yeo-Woon's back. With time so short, the teacher will force the chi circulation onto him directly. Yeo-Woon tenses, forced it onto him. The technique was refined by Yeo-Woon's own ancestor. No need to feel the chi himself. A wisp of red energy seeps from Seopmeng's fingertip. Yeo-Woon must keep his teeth clenched. The boy bites down hard, body convulsing under the surge. Nano speaks up. An intangible energy is entering through his life gate meridian. The system identifies the flow as chi and begins analyzing its effects on the body. Yeo-Woon grasps what's happening, but the pain is unbearable. Seopmeng frowns mid-channel. Something is very wrong. He probes deeper. Has the boy truly never trained internal power? All 14 meridians drink in his chi without the slightest resistance. Even the muscles and tendons are primed to absorb martial forms with ease. By every sign, the boy has never touched martial arts in his life. Seopmeng narrows his eyes. Could the patriarch himself be behind this? A memory surfaces. Yuzhong, who cherished Lady Hua above all his 7 wives, may have secretly trained the boy himself. Either way, Seopmeng grins. The conditions could not be more perfect. With talent like this, the boy will forge inner power in his dantian within a week. Meanwhile, lights still burn at the new student dormitory. A vicious smack rings out. Someone is being beaten down. A body crashes into the wall and crumples to the floor. Frightened servants rush to their fallen young lord. They howl in outrage, how dare a pure kickboy strike young Master Jongsum of the poison sect. The attacker wipes blood from his lip. Titles mean nothing inside these walls. Here only strength matters, and as the stronger one he claims leadership of Group 12. This is Becky, student 18 of the Pure Kick sect. A bearded man sits cross-legged, drained, his chi rippling around him. He exhales, the transfer is done. He asks Yeo-Woon if the paths of his chi are still clear. Yeo-Woon wipes his sweat and answers that every channel is etched in memory. The man smirks. 2 hours of forced circulation must have been hell. But for a boy who knows nothing of internal arts, this was the only path. He gives Yeo-Woon 1 week. 1 week to forge internal power inside his lower abdomen. The man grins wide. Got it, kid. Yeo-Woon stares back, drained but steady. Sir Seopmang must have burned through his own reserves for this. He tells himself he can at least bear this much. Yeo-Woon vows he won't disappoint him, and the older man chuckles. That's what he likes to hear. A rough pat lands on the boy's shoulder. Training ends for today. Yeo-Woon lowers his head, silent. Seopmang reminds him to keep practicing the dancing springs breathing technique without pause. He spins his weapon and takes his leave. Yeo-Woon bows in thanks. Alone now, Yeo-Woon stares at his own hands beneath the open sky. 1 week to forge internal power from nothing. He locks in the resolve. Scene shifts. The great drill hall of the Academy cadets gathering in formation. A red-haired figure scans the crowd just as expected. The young masters have already claimed leader spots, while the absent professors leave the first night for the cadets to fight it out unwatched. Hwamyoung's crimson eye narrows on one cadet. Something's off. Group 12 should be led by the poison heir, yet student 18 stands front and center, bruised but unbowed. That leader spot was bought with blood, a fierce fight by the looks of it. Hwamyoung strokes his chin, amused the poison heir could become the next minor priest, and student 18 still threw down with him. A bearded professor signals the start of training, and Hwamyoung gives the nod. A booming voice cuts across the courtyard. Attention students. 7 days of theory at the Great Assembly Hall in the morning, formation training at the Great Drill Hall after lunch. Understood for the demonic way. 5 lines. Group 1 first. The cadets stomp out in formation. In the crowd, a bandana-wearing cadet raises a clenched fist and sneers toward Yeo-Woon. Yeo-Woon catches it without flinching. What a fool. Nearby, a long-haired cadet taunts Mukim. Did the third prince really lose to a pure kick sect nobody? Mukim's smile twists vicious. Without poison arts, the poison sect is nothing. He tells his rival to stay back and keep getting trampled by the lower sects. Jongsum's face contorts in fury, his glare hunting for the source of the insult. There stands Baek Gi of the pure kick sect, calm, unbothered, the very target. Jongsum grinds his teeth. Enjoy the leader's chair, the regret is coming. Night falls over the student dormitory, moon-high lanterns burning. Inside, a senior cadet summons student 3, a long-haired figure with faint freckles steps forward. The professor praises how he commanded today's formation training, and student 3 bows. Too kind, sir. The professor brings up student 7, apparently confined to the infirmary for 2 weeks. Theory won't be the problem. It's the actual practice, since the boy has no internal powers to draw on. Free time now. Practice your sect's arts or review your lessons. Use it wisely. For the demonic way, Jongsum bows out, but his fist clenches white-knuckled the moment his back is turned. The instant the door shuts, Jongsum drives a kick straight into the corridor wall. Wood splinters. His followers gather. It's Mukim. Hush, getting on his nerves won't do them any favors. Jongsum bares his teeth, breath hissing through clenched jaws. 2 whole weeks in the infirmary, Jongsum explodes, fists shaking. Student 80 Jahyun, the stealth sect descendant, insists it's true physician's orders. Jongsum whirls on him. Only a fool buys that the brat is clearly faking the injury. That lowly vermin lying around at ease while he stews. Jongsum slams a pillar, splinters flying. Jahyun leans in close and whispers something into his young lord's ear. Jongsum's expression shifts. A slow, cruel smirk spreads across his face. Cut to the infirmary. Physician Beck lets out a massive yawn, mouth gaping wide. 5 days and not a single patient. He's bored out of his mind. He props his cheek on his palm, dozing off. Surely Yeo-Woon won't be his final patient ever. A sudden thud. His hair knot snaps loose, eyes bulging as someone bursts in. He stumbles to the door. What's the matter? A bald man drags in a wounded cadet, sword still buried in his side. Professor Impyong reports a sword training injury, left blade in place to stop the bleed. The physician lights up like a child at a festival. Place him on the bed. Finally another patient and gets straight to suturing the wound shut. Impyung asks after the patient. The physician confirms the sword missed every vein. The cadet got lucky. Impyung sighs heavily, lifting a curtain to check the next bed Yeo-Woon when a thump cuts the air. The physician chuckles. The professor must have been worried hard not to care for one's own students. Impyung admits these cadets are his charge until the second exam, yet 2 are already laid up here. The new one is stitched but needs to stay. The physician beams, holding up 3 fingers, 3 days to heal nothing like student 7's 2 weeks. Impyung takes his leave for afternoon training, entrusting student 23 to the physician's care. Out in the hallway, he mutters that an injury on the very first day of sword training means a written apology is coming. Cut to night, a single candle burns, wax tapping down the side. A figure rises silently from the infirmary cot, eyes locked on the flame. On the table, needles, scalpels, a hidden blade. A hand reaches out and grips one. The bandaged cadet stands, half his face shadowed, the dagger ready behind the curtain. He stops at Yeo-Woon's bedside, muttering it's for the good of the group, and the blade slips down toward the sleeping boy. But the moment steel meets skin, an explosion of cyan lightning erupts from Yeo-Woon. The would-be killer screams as electricity tears through him. The dagger clangs to the floor, still crackling with residual current. Yeo-Woon's eye opens, pupil glowing calm. "I knew it," he says, as the assassin convulses on the ground beside him, his foot still hissing where the Nano Machine struck. The academy halls stand silent in the dead of night. A muffled groan breaks the quiet from within. Baki's eyes snap open in shock. He gasps for breath, wondering if he just blacked out. He jolts upright and realizes he's bound hand and foot. He squirms against the ropes, demanding to know who did this. Baki yanks at his bindings, eyes burning with rage. A voice answers from the side, "It was me." Baki stares stunned. How could Yeo-Woon possibly have done this? Yeo-Woon calmly explains he knocked Baki out, tied him up, and moved him to the bed. Baki's mind races. He was the one supposed to be injured, yet he looks completely fine. Then a worse thought hits, and why is he calling me bald? Baki catches his reflection and lets out a horrified scream. He shakes his head wildly, unable to feel any hair at all. Baki thrashes on the floor, wailing in despair. Yeo-Woon shuts him up with a sharp slap across the face. He orders Baki to pipe down, then asks if he's calmed yet. Baki grunts furiously through the rag stuffed in his mouth. Yeo-Woon tells him he looks ridiculous and orders him to be quiet. Baki shivers in fear. He never realized this boy could be so vicious. Yeo-Woon asks how Baki thinks he survived this long. He twirls the dagger between his fingers with a smile. He's already lost count of how many like Baki have come to assassinate or poison him. He grins. Baki was the one who brought this dagger. Surely he knows how badly it could wound someone. He presses the blade closer and demands to know who gave the order. Baki thrashes wildly against the ropes, refusing to answer. Yeo-Woon yanks the gag down with a sharp pull. Baki gasps for air, doubled over from the sudden release. Yeo-Woon leans in now, talk. Baki pants out a denial. He has no idea what Yeo-Woon is talking about. Yeo-Woon stares him down as Baki insists again, then sneers. Does he really think he'll get away with killing him in this infirmary? Yeo-Woon reminds him of the rules inside the academy. No one may harm another outside training or official sparring. Yeo-Woon clicks his tongue. Guess this approach isn't going to work. Baki spits back that he'll never talk no matter how much he's tortured. Baki grins through his sweat. Does Yeo-Woon really think he has any power over him? Yeo-Woon claps his hands cheerfully, then he'll just have to torture him and find out. He stuffs the gag back into Baki's mouth with a sharp shove. Yeo-Woon turns away. Give him a minute. He returns with a small case, remarking that he found many useful things in the infirmary. Baki's eyes widen at the sight of long acupuncture needles glinting inside. Yeo-Woon smirks in the shadow and Baki shivers cold sweat down his face. Baki panics. Why is Yeo-Woon pulling his finger? What does he plan to do? Yeo-Woon grins as he twirls a needle between his fingers. This is going to hurt. He drives the needle straight under Baki's fingernail, drawing a muffled scream of agony. Yeo-Woon picks up another needle and tells him not to be such a wuss, then stabs again. Baki begs through the gag for him to stop, but Yeo-Woon only drives another needle deeper, then asks if Baki really can endure any torture. A red glint flashes in Yeo-Woon's eye. What a perfect specimen to take his anger out on. Baki's muffled screams echo out into the night above the academy rooftops. Baki flinches awake on the floor, body trembling. Yeo-Woon sits beside him calmly. Guess that hurt a lot. He passed out twice. Yeo-Woon stretches and tells him it's time to start on the right hand. Baki shakes his head frantically, grunting through the gag for mercy. Yeo-Woon leans in close. Is he ready to talk now? He smirks, should have said so earlier, then pulls the gag down as Baki gasps. Inside, Baki seethes, this guy is sick anymore and he'd be left a cripple. Better confess and deal with the fallout later. Yeo-Woon smiles knowingly. It was Mukim, wasn't it? Baki reels in shock. How could he possibly know? Yeo-Woon asks if he's curious how he figured it out, and Baki nods, calling him sir. Yeo-Woon explains thanks to their generous group leader Murim, a martial arts professor visits him every morning to tutor him. And the professor told him every detail about his group and its members. He had a hunch from the start, just wanted to hear it confirmed. Yeo-Woon points the needle straight at him. Student 23. Baki swallows hard. Who was the one who called this guy a lousy fighter? The others were wrong. He's a complete monster, hiding his aggression only because he hasn't trained yet. Once he learns to fight, who knows what chaos he'll bring. Yeo-Woon shrugs and says he needs sleep. They'll stop here for today. Baki gapes, really. As for what just happened, Baki swears desperately he won't tell a soul. Yeo-Woon raises a finger and presses an acupuncture point. Baki jolts in alarm. Yeo-Woon strikes him hard, sending Baki reeling. Baki staggers, mind spinning. Did he just use a paralysis point? His vision blurs as the realization hits. He thought this boy had no internal powers. Yeo-Woon stands over him, calm and unreadable. Baki's last thought before collapsing, this kid had them all fooled. Night falls over the demonic academy, the rooftops swallowed in mist. A figure dashes across the tiles, cloak whipping in the wind. Right Guardian smirks. He didn't expect Yeo-Woon to use it this soon. The night before, Right Guardian channels chi into the young master's back. Energy threads ripple around Yeo-Woon as his meridians open at last. The Guardian's eyes widen. This can't be this boy. In just 5 days, Yeo-Woon has gathered internal energy into his Dantian, a feat that normally takes weeks. The boy has surpassed every expectation, and the Guardian decides to teach him the butterfly sword dance. The Guardian dashes across the rooftops, grinning. His plans need to change. Back at the infirmary, a voice calls out to him. Yeo-Woon bows in a polite morning greeting, and the Guardian plays along. The Guardian asks where the demonic dragon marble is. The boy says it's under the bed. Demonic dragon marbles, rare academy pellets that grant the user 20 years of internal power in a single dose. The Guardian promises to ease the pain so Yeo-Woon can absorb the full effect at once. A voice cuts in. Someone else is in the room. On the floor lies a bound unconscious cadet, gagged and snoring. The Guardian raises an eyebrow. Looks like the young master knocked him out. Yeo-Woon explains the cadet tried to attack him right after physician Beck left. The attacker injured himself with a sword on purpose just to slip into the infirmary. The Guardian seethes. Striking inside the academy's infirmary would mean immediate expulsion. Right Guardian studies the unconscious cadet. Either the boy is recklessly brave, or someone backed him with a promise of protection. Yeo-Woon flinches at the thought. The Guardian reads his face and asks who it is. Yeo-Woon reveals the attacker belongs to the stealth sect. The Guardian gasps. The Guardian scoffs that the whole sect is full of vicious troublemakers, and Yeo-Woon sighs that his own mother's side came from there. The Guardian asks if there's ever a quiet day, and Yeo-Woon answers with a faint smile. He's used to it. The Guardian softens. The boy's calm acceptance is more sad than brave. Without warning, he smacks Yeo-Woon on the head, a sharp lesson for the lapse. The Guardian explains that knocking out someone with less than a year of training only buys a few hours. To keep an enemy down for good, 10 years of internal power are needed. Yeo-Woon snaps to attention and agrees. The Guardian opens the case and takes out a demonic dragon marble. He tells Yeo-Woon to swallow the marble. The boy asks if that's really all. The Guardian corrects him. Biting and crushing the pellet first makes it far more potent. Yeo-Woon braces himself. The stench is awful, and the bitterness is sure to follow. He bites down, and immediately his face contorts. The bitterness numbs his tongue. The smell overwhelms him. He forces the marble down, and the Guardian tells him to sit in lotus and run the dancing springs technique. Settled into position, Yeo-Woon waits as the Guardian prepares to channel energy and help him absorb the marble. At the Guardian's command, the boy gives a quiet, "Yes, sir," and surrenders himself to the process. Chi surges around Yeo-Woon. The Guardian's palms press his back as the marble's power begins to spread. Inside, the nano flickers to life. It detects the enhancement substance and asks whether to accelerate his metabolism to absorb it. Yeo-Woon agrees. The nano accelerates his metabolism, and Right Guardian gasps. This can't be real. The boy was born with a martial master's body. Yeo-Woon is absorbing the marble's full power at impossible speed. Most can manage only 80% at best. The Guardian grins through the strain. This kid keeps him on his toes. Energy still drifts from Yeo-Woon's hands as he opens his eyes, the absorption complete. The Guardian takes a long swig from his gourd, exhausted but pleased. He praises Yeo-Woon. He got quite a workout himself. Then he drops the number. Yeo-Woon has absorbed at least 30 years' worth of internal power. The Guardian chuckles that it's only a rough estimate. Other cadets would count it a success just to absorb half. Yeo-Woon takes the moment in a leap no one else at the academy will match. He bows deeply, thanking the Guardian. None of this would have been possible without him. The Guardian smirks. The boy is one lucky kid. But Yeo-Woon knows better. Silently, he gives the credit to Nano, which answers that it's programmed to help him. Outside, the sky is bleeding pink. The morning has slipped away. Yeo-Woon turns to leave, saying he should get going. Then he pauses and calls back, "There's one more thing." The Guardian taps Yeo-Woon's shoulder and agrees to teach him, but warns the boy's remaining time is short, and what comes next will take a while. Meanwhile, across the academy grounds, cadets are gathering for morning assembly. Cheon Murim, the third Prince SoundClan heir, and a half-brother of Yeo-Woon, laughs into the morning air alongside his servant Ja-hyun. Murim credits the whole scheme to Ja-hyun, who bows in gratitude. Murim hides a vicious grin. By now, that little vermin should be writhing with his muscles sliced open. He can't wait to see Yeo-Woon crawl like a pest and stomp him into the ground.